Joining us now is Senator Alyssa Slotkin of Michigan. Senator, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
We have a very limited amount of time. This is the internet, so you're here, and it's important that we ask some of the questions that are animating some of the younger voters and others. I assume that's part of the reason that you're here. The first is about Jeffrey Epstein. It's a story that's really captured a lot of America's interest. So you're a former CIA officer. Do you think that Jeffrey Epstein had any connections to U.S. or Israeli intelligence agencies?
So, not that I've ever seen or heard, but there's No, I haven't asked. But you know, this is like a solvable question because President Trump's CIA director, John Radcliffe, can answer this question, right? There is no shortage of people in this administration who can answer that question. I would be very surprised. I'm going to be honest. I know your views on it. I would be surprised.
Okay.
But I'm like a Middle East analyst. I was doing my time going after terrorist groups and militias in Iraq. And so I never saw it. I never heard anything about that. I, again, would be surprised, but there's an easy way to solve that problem.
Well, that's the question then. So in terms of, because I know you've expressed some concern about classified information, et cetera, in the past, would you be fine then with the full release of these Trump-Epstein files, even if they did reveal an intelligence connection?
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, like, it's such a distraction from, in my mind, like what I really care about, which is helping people like live well in Michigan. Just get it over with and get it out. And this wasn't like my issue. It's still not the thing that wakes me up in the morning and I want to work on. But I think it's okay to say it's a full distraction now in Washington. Everyone's talking about it. So just unveil it, do whatever you need to do, answer the questions, and move past it.
Well, that's the last question then. So there's some accusations here from the Republicans on Epstein here, just about, why didn't you care for over 4 years? I know you asked the question in 2020. You said, I don't care particularly about Bill Clinton, et cetera. I mean, that's somewhat understandable, but, we do have a person, very specific circumstances, let alone, the sex trafficking organization, others. So, why don't you answer that question? Like, why is this now is the time that you do care?
Yeah,
I mean, not particularly care.
It's horrible when you have a pedophile and someone who had a literal pyramid scheme of recruiting 14 and 15-year-old girls for illegal sex. I mean, it's horrible. At the time, I mean, I sort of saw it as like one of these horrible stories that comes out every 5 months, about somebody. I think the Weinstein thing had happened. There weren't Michiganders, to my knowledge, who were involved, women, young girls who were involved. So I kind of saw it as like a horrible moment, but not particularly something that's like going to decide whether someone in my state can buy a house or get a good job. So to me, it was just like it wasn't like a strategic issue, right, for me. And then now it just is like grown. And I think there is a difference between saying some rich guy or a former politician was named in those things versus the president of the United States. That to me is apples to oranges, because one of them is leading the free world and one of them's not. So if his name is in there as it appears it is, just like deal with it and let's get on with it at this point. And my 10-year-old nephew understands that the president is trying to dodge, trying to distract, trying to talk about other things. He hates answering this question. Like, we get it. So it feels off to the average person, right? To a 10-year-old, they're like, did he do something, right? So just get through it, get it out, and let's move on to for me, like real economic issues.
So then if a piece of legislation comes forward, you would vote for it to support the release of the files.
Sure.
Okay, all right. So then let's talk about future of the Democratic Party. I know that's something you've been interested in. Democratic approval hit an all-time low from the Wall Street Journal. At the same time, we've seen the rise more recently of anti-establishment candidates, people like Zoran Mamdani. Give us some of your thoughts there about the future of the Democratic Party, and particularly in the context of Mamdani's victory in New York City.
Well, I guess as a good Midwesterner and Michigander, I'm never going to say that what happens in New York City represents all of America. Sorry, we're a big country, and I would never pretend to totally understand New York City politics. I didn't particularly understand Eric Adams. I didn't particularly understand, I genuinely, right? But I think the message and the hot take out of that election is actually not terribly dissimilar from what we heard in the November election when Trump won, right? Which is people are still focused on the cost of living and not being able to achieve what they thought they could achieve, right? And then number two, people are looking for a new generation of leadership. I don't think it's hard to miss those hot takes. I can have plenty of disagreements with what I've heard Mr. Mamdani propose, and I do. But that message coming out of that election.
What do you disagree with?
Just my family was a 4th generation hot dog business. Like I am here because we live the American dream through capitalism.
Okay.
And so like a lot of free stuff to me is not the answer. I don't think it's sustainable. I don't think that
you like it free shit for corporations. You like it free shit for millionaires and billionaires and the ruling class of executives, managers, bankers, and political and economic elites, but not free shit when it comes for the people you claim to represent, the so-called Michiganders. Oh, but I was 4th generation hot dog stand, and I bootstrapped myself to be here. I don't like free shit. What? You're just gonna bootlick capitalism? You love giving free shit. In fact, that's your job, is to legislate free shit for the capitalists.
It actually fixes the underlying problem. But I can have those disagreements.
I bootstrapped hot dogs for 4 generations, okay? I said, government dole, no thank you. The hot dog stand's gonna make it. We're often offering 2-for-1 chili dogs every Tuesday. Man, my fucking mouse is not working.
I would be thrilled to have that conversation with him or anyone else about like, hey, we agree that there's an economic.
He would wipe the floor with you. Your talking points are dog shit. You just tried to American dream us? Come on. You're speaking to us like it's 1985. Get with the program, Alyssa.
Problem here. What we do to solve it, let's have that debate. And adults can debate and not like want to
Thank you, mute.
kill each other's children.
Well, let's talk then about leadership. So you just talked about that. We see a lot of that from our show. Some of the
My hot dog dealer is a total scumbag, but he's got the best dogs in town.
Democratic side of our audience is furious with Democratic leadership. I mean, do you still support Chuck Schumer's leadership here? He hasn't given an interview in about a month.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I've now served in the Senate for 6 months, in the House before that. Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries have hard jobs, like herding cats. It's not fun. I've said for a very long time, long before I got into the Senate and long before President Biden dropped out, that we need a new generation of leadership. You can feel it in, and I think at this point, I mean, especially
we need politicians that don't adopt boomer talking points like you do.
New York, right? You're looking at New York. It's like, I'd rather roll the dice with someone new than have like the warmed over leftovers that I've already known. So I think we have a problem with that across the board. And I think one of the things I can do as the youngest Democratic woman in the Senate, and I'm not young, I'm just young for the Senate, to be clear.
You're young for us.
Yeah. I mean, is push on that and try to give younger leaders a voice in this party in a very real way. And to me, that's upward pressure.
Oh, hot dog humor from Meggie. FTW.
Pressure that you're talking about from the people is good.
So then shouldn't they endorse him? I mean, what kind of a message Schumer and Jeffries, shouldn't they endorse?
They're both from New York.
Johnny, they're both New Yorkers.
Yeah.
And what kind of a message does it send if this guy won the Democratic primary.
Yeah.
He is the Democratic nominee.
Yeah.
It was overwhelming. If then the centrist leadership of the party said, we can't get behind him.
I mean, you just asked me before we started the exact same question about the Michigan Senate primary, and I'm like, Michigan Democrats don't get involved in primaries. We all are friends. So I can't speak to what they're doing. I think, I hope that they're meeting. I mean, if this person is...
They did.
Yeah, okay.
And Hakeem Jeffries still refused to endorse him. I mean, think about it.
You can sense the arrogant, sidestepping, political two-facing from her right now.
From this context, let's say in 2028, a more moderate figure wins the Democratic primary, and a bunch of progressives, AOC or whoever says we're not backing, we don't agree with you. I feel like you would have a problem with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I will say this. the way that this party works is when there's a coalition that sticks together. That's like a numbers issue. That's a data issue. And so I'm always going to be someone who's trying to find unity. That doesn't mean we all agree with each other. And I think I wasn't in the conversations where they met privately. What they debated, what they talked about, I don't know. But to me, we got to figure out what's common among all Democrats right now. And that's why I focus on the economy, because that is, to me, the cost of living and people not being able to achieve what their parents achieved is the existential issue of our time, is the unifying issue of like all the right wing, left wing, like American.
But yet, you know, it's another case of she's rhetorically trying to ingratiate herself to her audience, who she knows is working class Michiganders, and we gotta raise the standard of living. But this is just rhetoric. It's not like she's meaningfully pursuing these policies. It's just to electioneering is what they call this, you know, pandering to her base, adopting some popular talking points that will garner her support. But when it comes down to it, no material difference will take place. She just told us how much she loves capitalism and her hot dog stand family business. So, you know, socialism is when government does stuff, and to her that's scary. So it's better when, you know, the government does stuff for the capitalists. And this leads me back to the point, like, I know what her talking points are just by the little things that she said, if we were to get into this discussion. And she's what people don't understand is that the government does stuff. That's what the government is for. It's for doing stuff. There'd be no government if the government did not do things. It's not about the government doing things. It's about the government doing things for who. And she's perfectly fine with the government handing out free shit, as she calls it, to the capitalists and not necessarily to the working class, which is our money. That's our money that they're using to fuel their private profits. You know, that's the whole contradiction in capitalist society, is that public money becomes private profits. In socialist society, there are contradictions still, but they're not antagonistic. Public money becomes public profits. The public profits off of the money that we use, that we pool together. We fund things that we all agree upon. It should be a good thing, you know? It should be a good thing to pay taxes because we're providing services that we all use in a society anyway. We all come from a society. Oh.
I don't even think it's a Democratic Party thing. And to me, that's where I spend my time, because I think 80% of my constituents in Michigan, that's where they live, is like, I just want to be able to
Exactly, Steak Baby. Exactly correct. That's why you fucking hate the reformists. They let people equate socialism to social programs within a capitalist state. That is not socialism.
Disneyland and take my kids the way my dad took me.
And it's like,
so,
at least, at the very least, you could arrive to the discussion, you know, with critical arguments, you know, and not straw man the entire discussion.
That's where I focus on. I'm happy to sit down with any leader. I can't speak to their particular decision to endorse or not. But I'm not endorsing in my own.
Right, but
primary.
just yes, the last question on
but
the
he won the primary.
Right, that's my question.
That's what's different.
And
by
they
12,
haven't, I'm
by
sorry
12
to ask
points.
this. They have another election though, yeah?
A general election.
general
Yeah.
election.
He is
But
the
it's-
Democratic nominee.
I see. I'm sorry. This is why I'm saying I
How did you not know that? Even I know that. And she's a U.S. senator?
don't follow New York politics. And I think the
Maybe you should start.
you'd have to ask them. I don't know. I know
I'm just a lovable old Michigander out here with my hot dog stand.
that for me, whoever wins the Democratic primary in the state of Michigan for the Senate seat that's up, that's who I will endorse, regardless of who it is.
All right, that was my last question.
Yeah.
So I'm going to turn it to Chris now.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess I'm actually a little curious, and forgive me if this is impolite. Like, I'm
here it
curious why
comes.
you wanted to talk to us.
What do you mean?
Well, like,
Yeah.
we don't have actually a lot of senators, especially ones who have very different ideology than us, reach out. So I'm curious what your goal was and why you thought to come here.
Well, first of all, I think you have a good audience. I mean, right?
We agree.
If you appeal to like 4 friends on YouTube or whatever, then I probably wouldn't be here.
Isn't the water in Flint, Michigan still poison?
But I think, to me, part of the problem is that people have kind of gone to their corners. And I live this, right? I live on my family farm in a town that voted heavily for Donald Trump. I've never won my town. I've never won my precinct. I've never won my neighbors. We get along, but I never won them, and I probably never will. So to me, I think that the people have gone to their corners, and like people who used to be able to talk about politics and disagree don't even get in the same room together. So I kind of like the idea of your show. Like, it was interesting to me when my team pitched me, right? We go through, and like, there's no hiding it. Lots of people are like, how do we evolve in this new space? Yeah. You know, like that's not you know, it's not that conversation isn't happening. It is, and I think that's good, and to the credit of lots of shows like yours.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But
I want this
I
bitch
think
to get
your
to the
show
fucking
appealed to me
point.
as I was being pitched because you guys
Why are
don't
we
agree.
watching this?
And like, I am very focused. My dad was a lifelong Republican, my mom a lifelong Democrat. Like, Michiganders want to get back to a place where we can disagree on politics and not have it be so like bitter.
So I hear you on the idea of like you want to talk about the economics and the unifying and cost of living.
Look,
and
we just want
I
to
think
get
that
back to the
ignores a big
neoliberal
elephant
program, okay? We don't like all this bickering.
in the room, especially when you're talking about even Zoran Mamdani. The reason Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer don't want to endorse him is because of his position on Israel. The single most viral clip that he had in that election actually wasn't about cost of living, even though that's what he wanted to make his campaign about. His opponents, Andrew Cuomo in particular, wanted to make it all about accusing him of anti-Semitism and attacking him for his views on Israel and Palestine. So the most viral moment from that entire campaign, I believe, was this moment on the debate stage. Guys, this is E1. Let me go ahead and play this for you, and then I want to get your reaction.
Mr. Mamdani.
I would stay in New York City. My plans are to address New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs and focus on that.
Mr. Mamdani, can I just jump in? Would you visit Israel as mayor?
I will be doing, as the mayor, I'll be standing up for Jewish New Yorkers, and I'll be meeting them wherever they are across the 5 boroughs, whether that's in their synagogues and temples or at their homes or at the subway platform, because ultimately we need to focus on delivering on their concerns.
And just yes or no, do you believe in a Jewish state of Israel?
I believe Israel has the right to exist.
Not
As a Jewish state?
No,
As a state with equal rights.
Now, this was considered very controversial when he said it, and I think the results are in at this.
You don't want to give first-right citizenship status to Jews over other non-Jews? This just in. Man running for mayor does not believe in an apartheid state. Man running for New York City will not visit Israel.
Point that he didn't win in spite of his position there. He won in part because of it, including if you listen to Andrew Cuomo's numbers, he won a majority of Jewish voters.
She served 3 tours in Iraq and intelligence role. How am I not surprised?
Inside of New York
Former U.S. military.
City. And so what I'm curious for your view on is, while, you know, I would love to debate you on your healthcare policy. I think we need Medicare for all. You think public option, your housing policy, et cetera. I'm just being really real.
Yes, I did see Mamdani's rap video.
With you. I don't really hear what you say if you are still supporting a genocide in Gaza. And that's, for me, you know, I'm speaking for myself, but I know there.
Uh-oh, the gloves are off. The G word has been said. Let's see how this Michigander senator responds.
There are millions of other people who feel the same, that you have to at least cross this sort of moral threshold. And what it indicates to people, and I think part of why, you know, Zoran won so many people in New York City, young people in particular, but Jewish New Yorkers, people across the board, is because it was a sign of, number one, okay, you're focused on New York City first and foremost.
Sure.
Number two, you're willing to take the heat on an issue that is really difficult for you, where you're being overtly smeared as an anti-Semite. And number three, there's no, you know, entrenched interest that's going to control. You have a spine, you have principles, you're willing to stand up for something. And so, you know, I'm curious for your reflections on that because of your voting record and where you've stood on this conflict.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the proudest moments that I had in my last election.
Here we go. The proudest moments when I went to go visit Israel. We planted trees for Israel.
Where I just won on the same ballot as Donald Trump was that I won a majority of Jewish voters in Michigan. We have a large Jewish population. And I won Dearborn, Dearborn Heights, and Hamtramck, the 3 Muslim-dominated cities. Trump won 2 out of the 3. So I think the thing that I would push back on is voters vote with their feet, right? We have a moment in an election where they get to decide. And there was no issue that was more difficult for me in this last, I would say 6 years, but certainly in this last election, other than this issue, because it's personal. I'm a Middle East analyst by training. And so what I tried to do and why I think I managed to win both those communities is call balls and strikes, literally up to this week on what's going on.
So let's talk a little bit more about that.
But I think it's important, right? If you're going to push on me, then I think like there's one of us that's had an election and had to appeal to my voters and win.
Shots fired.
And so it doesn't surprise me at all that Mr. Mamdani won. Or actually, I didn't know his name. I didn't know much about him until he won. But because I think this issue is motivating people in a very visceral and personal way.
Yeah.
But it's not the only issue that my voters in Michigan care about.
Of course.
And the online world is
that's true.
extremely focused on this. But that doesn't always represent the majority. And I think if I can push back, like if we're out on the road every day in Michigan when I'm there. In some communities, that issue is the number one issue, 100%. And like, I mean, up till this morning, right? Like people texting my phone and talking about a plan, some of the things we're working on. But I go outside the Detroit area, it's not in the top 40.
But Senator, it's not just a political issue, it's also a moral issue is what I'm trying to get to. So let's talk about those, calling them balls and strikes, if you will. So first of all, do you
She's coming for your morals, Senator.
accept that Israel has a policy of enforced famine and starvation in the Gaza Strip?
I think I literally put my name on a letter yesterday or last night that says like a policy of starvation, people are starting to starve. And in general, I mean, I served in places like Ramadi and Fallujah. I watched in 2004 and 2005, al-Qaeda terrorists drag American citizens behind a vehicle until they died, right? Like horrible, and then string them up, like a lynching.
Okay.
We still had a responsibility to get aid into Fallujah, despite the fact that we were fighting.
Wait, I'm sorry, did she say that they strung up U.S. soldiers? Thank you, Adrian. That's really sweet of you. Let's go back here. I missed that.
Drag American citizens behind a vehicle in places like Ramadi and Fallujah. I watched in 2004 and 2005, al-Qaeda terrorists drag American citizens behind a vehicle until they died, right? Like horrible, and then string them up, like a lynching.
Okay.
We still had a responsibility to get aid into Fallujah, despite the fact that we were fighting al-Qaeda.
I love that she's making a false equivalence between Hamas and al-Qaeda. Is that what's happening here?
Cells in Fallujah, and I
have we heard of Hamas doing anything like this?
Been clear about that.
So this is a crime against humanity. Forced starvation is a...
Iraq is famously full of American citizens. I know that's the other thing you could say is like, why? Wait, they were all the way in where? These American citizens, what were they doing? Well, they had machine guns on them and they were storming a village. Oh, so they weren't just there for the tourism. They weren't there just to, for vacation in Fallujah. So when you say American citizens, you mean these are U.S. military soldiers who are attacking these towns in Iraq? No, they're just good old American citizens.
You cannot,
is a crime against humanity.
The occupying power has a responsibility to get aid into the war zone, period.
She literally unironically acknowledges that she's an occupying power. She's like, I went to the Middle East and I served as a soldier in the occupying army. And I can tell you that as an occupying power, you must supply aid to the occupied people. Well, you know what else it says, according to international humanitarian law about the laws of belligerent occupation? It says you should end the occupation ASAP and negotiate in good faith to have that done. Now, can we ask ourselves, did the United States or Israel negotiate in good faith to end their occupation, which should have never started in the first place?
So,
by the law of war.
So in addition, do you accept that the Israeli plan, as reported by Haaretz, as discussed openly by ministers like Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, as backed by the President of the United States, is forced ethnic cleansing?
I think we have, as recently as yesterday, the Prime Minister of Israel talking about forced migration into certain areas and then potentially out of the country. Mm-hmm. That is not legal. That is not on any international standard since World War II. And I've been clear about that. So I would ask for a little bit of an open mind.
Well, what I would ask is, listen, I'm a YouTuber. You know, I have my words, that's all I have. Yeah. But you're a United States Senator. Mm-hmm. Like you're not the president, but you have power. So what are you going to do? Because so far what we've seen, I mean, you voted for some of the aid that's been used to massacre children and innocents. You know, you have
blood on your
backed
hands,
Israel,
Senator.
as far as I can tell, you know, from your voting record at almost every turn. You voted for a definition of anti-Semitism that would, you know, codify anti-Zionism as anti-Semitism. You voted as a member of the House to sanction the ICC for indicting Benjamin Netanyahu, who you just admitted is a war criminal, you know, by your own words. So are you going to join Senator Angus King, Senator Bernie Sanders in saying no more aid to this country that is committing war crimes against innocent civilians?
I think the first thing, if you're asking about what to do with...
Well, first and foremost, hot dog. Don't forget fourth generation hot dog stand.
Power. And I would offer that right now Democrats own nothing.
Somebody said, why are they putting her on the spot like this? It's funny because you've never heard people on the news actually asking these kinds of questions. And so that when you hear it, you're like, whoa, that's especially harsh. But really, this is what every interviewer should be doing, the bare fucking minimum.
Nothing in Washington. So
don't play powerless with me. You're a United States Senator. There are things you can do.
In terms of who runs our foreign policy.
What did she say? Don't play what? That was nice.
First thing, if you're asking about what to do with power, and I would offer that right now Democrats own nothing in Washington. So
don't play powerless with me. You're a United States Senator. There are things you can do.
Democrats, oh yeah. Don't play powerless woman with me. Yeah. Democrat, but see, she's, Alyssa, that's exactly what the Democrats are there to do, is to feign powerlessness. Don't we talk about this on stream all the time? They feign impotence. They feign, like they care. They feign like they just can't do anything about it. It's tough, you know, there's a lot of moving parts. They are playing the role of the powerless adversary, the powerless protagonist that almost could have, would have, should have done something there, but it just got away from them. That is precisely the role of the Democrats. I mean, for her to be elected senator in the United States Congress and to sit there and tell her constituents and everybody in the audience that she is a powerless person in D.C. She just can't do nothing about it. Well, we know that's not true. I mean, you're a fucking senator. Can't you form a committee or something? You can do something. You can play the fucking political game. When it comes to blowing up brown kids, absolutely powerless, you know? When it comes over to fucking over the working class, hey, we got all the tools and we're got all the time in the world to get that done. Let's steamroll that. You know, it's funny. Because you think about some of the, like the abortion rights and how they've dangled that in front of us since the 50s, as far as I know, for decades now, and they use it as a political tool to get people to fundraise, to get money, and so people will vote for them, and then when they have the time and the power to do it, they don't get it done, and there's inevitably a rotating villain that everybody can blame, but just don't out the Democratic Party establishment as a whole. And it's just right on the money, man. She's saying that she's really actually speaking the truth here. But that's the role that they perform.
In terms of who runs our foreign policy, I just think it's interesting, right? That there was a ton of protests when Democrats were in charge.
There was a protest in Manhattan yesterday.
Okay. I think it's fair to say, just to be honest, that back and forth, like the number of protests that go on now versus before.
Well, they were part of your political coalition.
Well, not to mention, I mean, Senator Slotkin,
that's fair.
Obviously, I'm here.
Yeah.
I was very upset over the Biden administration policy. And as you can tell, I'm very upset over the Trump administration policy.
Yep, Stalin did one thing wrong.
Yeah. So let's deal not in strawman, but me and
but
here
in
and now.
terms of so the tools that I have, the tools that we have.
I'm showing it for a teachable moment. We have to look at the spectacle. We have to decode the theater. But here's the thing, the thing about the abortion, it's like the point, the metaphor was like, the abortion, when it comes to abortion, they just can't get it done. But when it comes to sending weapons to Israel, man, they can bypass Congress. They can, they have a whole clause in legislation that the Pentagon can use whenever they just have to get the weapons to Israel right now. They'll sign it up, do the documents, and all that later. But it should tell you everything, really. The stuff that they claim is hard, and the things that they claim that are easy. That just shows you that's a contour of the class war.
In general, to me, the most important thing is a pressurized campaign to get aid into people who are starving. That to me is the number one, because that's the one is urgent and today. And that.
But will you cut off aid to Israel so long as they're committing crimes against humanity?
There is a difference.
Thank you, Kermit. That's all right. We're going to do it all over again, man.
Between a weapon to protect a country from incoming missiles versus other type offensive and defensive weapons are different.
So would you support offensive weapons ban? Like, would you stop any offensive aid to Israel?
That certainly, to me, would be a place to look, but I'm not going to cut off.
He's such a liar. She's such a liar. She's like, I am really trained in the art of bullshitting my way through every fucking answer. They're so good at saying so much to say nothing. What is this?
A blanket next sale on a defensive weapon that comes through. No.
I also reject that because, for example,
because the Democrats have to concede a little bit, they have to show you that they're not the Republicans. There's a little difference. So let's make a distinction between offensive and defensive weapons. And then let's play that game like, well, I don't know. We should probably try and just maybe focus on just the defensive, And then when it comes to like offensive, we can still, we'll still support it. We'll just act like we can't. A lot of hot air. That's right.
Senator Slotkin, if you were asked to support defensive weapons for Iran, defensive weapons for Russia, you wouldn't back that.
No, but Iran, but
they're defensive. They're just protecting.
No, but remember, I served 3 tours in Iraq and brown man bad. Okay, we know this. So let's just draw up our xenophobic anger against the Arabs. Of course, remember, inhale more terrorist propaganda. Let's get back to the script now. Remember 9/11.
civilians, right?
Right.
So how is it different?
But because Israel's being shot at. I mean,
Well, so is Russia.
So is Iran.
Yeah.
So is Russia.
Ukraine's shooting at Russia right now. Right?
Oh, wow. She's and power down. You could see her brain just powering down. She's like, well, she's like got the basketball and she's like, she just did a double dribble. She's like trying to recover. She's like, should I try bouncing the ball between my legs? And no, because like my left hand's not so good. Shit. Well, Israel tried. Israel has the right to defend itself. Stop noticing.
I'm sorry. This is the difference between allies, partners, and adversaries.
Okay. So she's told you no morals. I have no morals. Sorry. Uncle Sam says I must love Israel. I must die for Israel. Israel is the chosen pee-hole. Iran, Yemen, all these other Russia, they're the enemies, okay? I've inhaled far too much Cold War propaganda to believe that Russia could not be an enemy. Russia must be enemy at all times. Must hate Russia. Then we hate China. And then we hate Iran, and we just go round and round we go.
No. An ally then. What are they doing right now that which makes it an ally?
I think allied relationships, just like Lithuania right now, like an allied relationship.
See that little? You saw how it went to it demurred. It went to a denouement just then. There was a height, there was a climax, and then once it was revealed what her final hand was, there was a pause. But in that pause, what she was conceding were her morals and her principles. And she's going back to, well, it's not about what's morally right or what's principally correct. They're just our allies, and I'm racist, basically. Let's do it again.
I think allied relationships, just like Lithuania right now, like an allied relationship or a partner relationship is
Ukraine's shooting at Russia right now. Right?
I'm sorry. This is the difference between allies, partners, and adversaries.
Why is it an ally then? What are they doing right now that which makes it an ally?
I think allied relationships, just like Lithuania right now, like an allied relationship or a partner relationship is a long-standing relationship of information sharing and
brothers who ride together, commit war crimes together, die together.
Diplomacy. And that is to me, it's not a like.
Did she just say diplomacy?
That is to me, it's a relationship or a partner relationship is a long-standing relationship of information sharing and diplomacy.
What about Israel is diplomatic? Like, what about Israel and the United States has anything to do about diplomacy? They shirk diplomacy. The UN is tasked with administering diplomacy among the international community. That's the body that we decided upon would be the institution which would negotiate and resolve conflicts so that they did not erupt into war and war crimes. And she's farting from her mouth. That's a good way of putting it, yes. But in all of this, she has the audacity to say a word like diplomacy. I mean, come on.
And that is to me, it's not a like every day we decide Lithuania is our ally or not. We're allied or not. And
look, I'm just a fourth generation hot dog stand. And I mean, what does she know about international laws and geopolitics and all of this stuff? I mean, she's just a small town Michigander.
Sometimes we have big breaks with allies, right? Sometimes we have difficult moments with allies. Sometimes it goes the wrong way with allies. But an allied relationship is a long-term relationship.
It's hard for me to understand why we should ally.
And she looked long-standing, yes. That's why we ally with the Nazis.
Like, I'm sure you believe in, like, or claim to believe in liberal human rights. Why would we ally with a nation that is committing a genocide and live streaming it?
Can I?
Yeah, actually, what about our commitment not only to our allies but to our own laws? Why are we supplying Israel with illegal weapons? They're committing known war crimes. They're being internationally condemned for it. It's even being litigated. We know full well what they're doing. We're still supplying them with the material aid to get it done. So we are in violation of our own Leahy laws, as they put it, which forbid the sale of weaponry to countries that are committing crimes against humanity. But she's saying, no, that's not cool. I mean, that's fine. That's fine. It's because we're allies. We've got a commitment to our allies. We do anything for our allies.
I ask literally, like this, I think about this.
Die for the chosen people.
From the mirror image way, because I do not support the things that Donald Trump is doing, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm an American. So
they're just so crafty about trying to get people to believe that there's any difference between an Elisa Slotkin and a Donald Trump. I mean, they don't promote or different worlds. I mean, they have the same. They possess the same ideas, and they're part of the same structure.
Do I want other countries to look at America and be like, we can't stand Donald Trump, so we're going to end any longstanding relationship we have with the American people. We're going to cut off any support we give them on information sharing or intelligence sharing. Like, we are not just our elected leaders. And I think that's the thing that's been lost in the conversation.
So B'Tselem and another Israeli...
She's taking that paycheck, man. She loves that AIPAC money. That AIPAC money is good, you guys. The AIPAC money must be good to get up and be a complete jackass on live television. Yeah.
Human rights organization joined the global consensus, Amnesty International, some 800 scholars. There was a piece from an Israeli scholar in the New York Times in saying this is a genocide. Do you accept, even Marjorie Taylor Greene yesterday came out and said it's a genocide. Do you accept that? And if you do, I mean, what responsibility does a United States senator have for, this is a nation that, we send every year billions of dollars to aid that you have, voted for and supported. Like, what responsibility does a United States senator have to prevent genocide and to stop genocide that we see ongoing?
Look, you know what it is like, she's like, she's thinking, she's like, how do I get out of this question? Because this answer is above my pay grade. I don't want to talk about this no more. She's like, yeah. You can see her thinking it through. She's like, okay, I'm going to start with this. I'm going to go with this. But it's true. She's talking about, it's so funny to me that I think the thing that I'm taking away most from this right now is she unironically brought up the law of belligerent occupation, which is just all kinds of ridiculously absurd and funny. And, she's being grilled on the fact that resoundingly the international community in every relevant institution you can think of condemns Israel for this. We, even according to our own laws, condemn Israel. In fact, we set up the international institutions which now condemn Israel. And she cannot look that square in the face. She devolves into we're allies with Israel. Israel has a right to defend itself. She just toes that line, She's a machine politician. These people are performing a service for the ruling class, and that's what their role is, and they're doing that, and it's working out swimmingly for the people it's meant to work out for. She's performing a role, and that's what's happening. But that's appalling to me. And this is every Zionist, this is every Israeli, every American official that, is a paid shill of AIPAC. They all just avoid the mountain of evidence that is staring them in the face. And that it's just crazy. It says a lot about your world when one rogue country can shirk international consensus and the entire world has to go along with that one state, no matter what they think, no matter what the democratic opinion and resolution and conclusion is on the issue. It doesn't matter. Our international institutions have failed. Democracy has failed. All of these things has failed because it's all created in the image of its creator. It's all reflected. It's just, everything is here meant to preserve U.S. hegemony. All of the institutions are devoted to it. And all we can do, at best, to muster in 2025 is to rhetorically, culturally condemn a genocide because we can't materially stop it.
Responsibility up till today to ensure that food is getting in.
Is it
so
a
that
genocide?
People don't starve. I don't know that I'd use that term,
Why?
but it is violating the law of war.
Why don't you use the term though?
Because I think, it's, to me,
it's too soon. It's just too soon. Because to me, if this was Jake GTV, she'd be like, because to me that's anti-Semitic.
Do I think it's ethnic cleansing, which is what I think of in genocide? I don't know if it meets that definition.
They're
Yeah, but
announcing
didn't you
it.
say it earlier that it wasn't?
Dude, I mean, all you have to do is pour through some legal documents, or not even, just read people that have, of the resolutions that have been passed by the UN, the advisory opinions that have been ruled by the ICJ, the reports from human rights organizations that have been written clearly articulating the conditions of ethnic cleansing and calling it as such. The international courts call it ethnic cleansing. And it's just, no, I'm not feeling that. It's just the vibes are off. I just, I don't like that word. It's a little too harsh. I wouldn't use that necessarily.
Ethnic cleansing. He said that they wanted to force them. I mean, this is open from the Israeli government. Like, they're saying it. Their
And from
minister
Trump.
of national.
She is regretting doing this. So she really, you can see the deer in headlights start to show up on her face right now. I think she's in over her head.
Security. They come out and they're like, we don't need shells. We need shells, not food. And we need to encourage migration. They're saying
you're not going to get me to support what the Israeli government is saying right now. Right. I think the point I was trying to make is it's not just about
You're not going to get me. You see, even that language, how she answers is like she's trying to maneuver her way. She cannot be forthright. She cannot be authentic. She cannot be, genuine. She's got to dance, keep dancing. And so she's like, yeah, you get it.
We have relationships with nations over time, regardless of who their leaders are. We have really tough moments. We have easier moments. But that doesn't, so I'm not willing to say that I hate everything ever.
Sure, but so even if you accept that they're committing a genocide, you still wouldn't cut off their aid?
I think that defensive aid and offensive aid are different things. And I think at this point,
so
what
if
they're
Nazi
doing
Germany,
every single day
if Nazi Germany.
Oh my God, this is some grade A mental gymnastics, man. She is just, slimy is a good word. She's like, I think we need to, so you want to still send them weapons in the middle of a genocide? Well, she says, I think that we need to make a distinction between offensive weapons and defensive weapons. This is the party line that they're towing, the Democratic establishment. It's like, how are we they got with their AIPAC leaders. They're like, look, I've been talking to my people. We can't keep going on with this. It's not popular with our base. Like, what do we have to try? We have to come up with some talking points. What are our new talking points? Okay, well, let's start making the distinction between offensive and defensive weapons. Now we can start making it about that, about the aid, whether the aid is offensive or whether the aid is defensive. It's a way of giving ground but not really conceding anything. They're still, the Overton window. It's like if we had U.S. senators saying "fuck no," like "fuck Israel," like they can't. Are you crazy? It's not even just up to me. I'm just a senator. Like, the international institutions have already decided that this is what we're doing is a war crime. We are complicit in a genocide. We are complicit in all of these crimes against humanity that are happening. That is Israel. Not only is Israel carrying them out, but the United States entire political economic apparatus is carrying that out. It could not happen otherwise. That's what the real answer is. And instead we have these shifty, shady political maneuverings. Well, look, I think we need to define offensive weapons from defensive weapons. And I support the defensive weaponry, sure. And when it comes to offensive weapons, I'm just going to abstain, or I'll be sick that day, or blah, blah, blah. Make sure that nothing materially changes. And, a real person would say it's not even up to a senator. And if it came, across my desk, I would obviously look to international laws. I would look to the relevant authorities, and I would base my vote on that, because that's what it concerns. But that's not what we have here. It's just it's really shady. Okay, Meggie, you cannot leave. Okay, everybody, let's bar the doors. In fact, Meggie, you were late to the stream, so you were up for a blood sacrifice. Remember that this is a cult. We do accept blood oaths, nothing less than. You must pledge allegiance to your leader. Okay, that would be me. Hi, how you doing? And good, you're staying. I think you made the right decision there. That was a good move. Good. Yes, you leave that fucking thing on, all right? And if so, look, I have monitors, AI monitors. I just invested in some Palantir monitors for my stream. It actually not only can track your online content and your online activity on stream, but it also tracks when you're offline and also what you're doing offline. So it gives me a little readout at the end of the stream. I know I've got dirt on all of you. All right. So this is a blackmail operation, and that's why you can't leave, and you have to say nice things about me always. Okay.
He said we want defensive aid. I mean, it's just you have to see.
Another thing is that it doesn't matter if it's defensive aid or offensive aid. It's still a war crime to send, even trading with them. Even trading with Israel is a war crime at this point. Anything short of blockading their entire country, shutting down their economy entirely until they stop this.
Where they're all weapons that are being shipped. In another context,
the weapons that they're using right now, I mean, to be honest, if you look at what's happening on the ground, the military part of this conflict is, for the most part, over. What they are doing.
What are you talking about, Alyssa? Are you still just navel gazing? Are you blowing kisses to your butthole? Because that's what it sounds like.
No.
What they are doing every single day is around aid, and they are hurting people around the delivery of aid.
They have slaughtered over 1,000 people who were starving people just trying to get aid.
That is not
you know this.
That's
and
not
there's still military. Like, what are you talking? Everything about this is a military operation. They're still militarily occupying the entirety of the Gaza Strip. I mean, it's just ludicrous. The entire. We saw a map that showed us that the majority of the Gaza Strip is deemed a kill zone by the IDF. So I don't know what she's talking about. She's trying to make it seem like the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which is still, an extension of the IDF, and it's also, obviously also American mercenary groups are attached to that as well. But it's still very much a military operation. Still, they're, bulldozing a home is a war crime. That's considered an act of aggression, obviously. But I'll shut up.
Intensity bombs, that's not the weapons that we were talking about 2 years ago. It's just not. I'm sorry. Every single day, the military reports that I read, they are traditional,
what?
This is a military that has a...
The military reports that you read from the military? Who's writing these military reports, Alyssa? Look, the IDF reports that I'm receiving across my table, they are perfectly normal. Everything is standard by the book, okay? Sorry.
Bad strategy. It is not the bombs that we were seeing 2 years ago.
It's not a military that has a bad strategy. The strategy is forced starvation and ethnic cleansing.
That is not a...
That's their strategy. And they're accomplishing it very effectively with the full backing of the United States government, including, sadly, Democrats.
She's like, well, I can't say that.
Well,
and so a couple more questions that I know you have.
She didn't fight her on that.
To run.
She's like, thank God.
I'm curious why you condemned Rashida Tlaib for using the rally chant, from the river to the sea, something she said for her evokes equal rights.
Dennis, I will piss in your ass and shit in your mouth if you talk to me like that again, son.
And you have not condemned Randy Fine, who said that Gazans should, quote, starve away, who floated that the Gaza Strip should be nuked, who called Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib and Soran as well, called them Muslim terrorists. Where is the concern over him?
I have no problem condemning Randy Fine, who I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know who that person is. I have no problem condemning someone who talks like that.
Senator, we have to ask your last question because your staff is telling us. Do you think AIPAC should register as a foreign lobby?
Well, let's see. Right now she's thinking, let's see, I got 25,000 from them just this month. Can you ask me in 6 months what I think?
I don't know the answer to that. I think that...
Here's a better question, which you might know. How much money has AIPAC given you?
I know plenty of people who think they should. I
know plenty of people that have a spine, but I don't know. I was thinking maybe tomorrow or maybe next week or maybe next month I'll grow my spine.
It's kind of
I'm not sure.
a cop-out answer, don't you?
I have to see if there'll be 4 more weeks of winter.
I literally just guess I'd have to look at the definition. I certainly have had my tough moments with that organization. And
I wonder what those tough moments were.
So you stopped accepting their funding?
you got to get your facts straight. I have not been endorsed by AIPAC. I have not. I'm sorry. I was the first Jew elected to the Senate that was not endorsed by any Jewish group. AIPAC, J Street.
You've been the recipient of their funds.
In 2018, when I first...
Oh, here it comes. Yeah, but you were... come on. I was a Jew. I was not endorsed by AIPAC. Okay, yeah, when you started out, but like, when did you... Okay, well, in 2018, yes, I did maybe accept a few small bribes, but they were just a one-off.
Strand, people who were members, yes, but I've not been endorsed since then, and I just got to be honest, like, I think that this is where facts really matter. I've had very, very difficult conversations with my colleagues in that organization, and made a choice back in 2021 2021. So that was the first time I was up for re-election. So I understand that there's...
Guys, I didn't cheat on your mom, okay? Yes, I had sex with a flight attendant, but that was one time. Okay, but your mom and we've been faithful to each other. Except for just, it was like one time. It was like 1 or 2 times. All right? And that was it. It's all over. I am a completely changed person now. I would never. Why? You haven't heard anything, have you?
A sort of, like, again, cornered position, but to me, like, I call balls and strikes as someone who served in the Middle East.
Why does she loves talking about balls, doesn't she? She loves talking about the balls. The AIPAC balls in her mouth.
I have one more question I have to ask you. You know, we do the show. I really do my best to try to uphold, like, you know, basic human rights, Palestinian humanity, oppose the killing of innocent civilians wherever that happens. And I have to tell you, like, I feel really guilty that I'm not doing enough. I think all the time.
Crystal, I hear you, I see you, but are you really trying to appeal to a Zionist Jew senator on her humanity and her morality? You're talking to a vacuum. You are talking to a void. You are talking to an AIPAC Zionist shill. So let's not try this angle here. Okay.
I'm a mom, I think all the time about those moms who can't feed their babies. Mm-hmm. Those babies are starving to death. And I just want to know, like, you're a United States Senator, you did vote for some of the bombs that were dropped on...
Keep it together, Crystal. Keep it together. No tears, no tears.
...refugee camps. When kids have been sniped in the head. Tents firebombed. People set on fire. I'm
already trying to predict the senator's response here. What do you think that she's going to say? War is hell? Hamas, though? Again, you know, I think Israel, that being said, Israel has the right to defend itself. What's going to be her answer?
Entire Gaza Strip turned into rubble. And now we're seeing these emaciated bodies of babies starving to death every day.
Well, you know, when it all started on October 7th, are we going to hear October 7th? Are we going to hear Hamas? Are we going to hear, yeah, it's bad, but Israel has the right to defend itself? It's got to be one of those, or a mixture.
And
yes, it's always sad when babies get sniped.
Like, I know what you can do.
Does it eat you up? Does it eat you up? Do you think, like, what more could I
Absolutely not.
do? Do you regret any of your votes?
She's going to maybe talk about how she's here to represent the Michiganders. All that geopolitics just above her pay grade, okay? She's here to speak for the Michigander people.
Let me tell you what I was working on this morning. A group of Jewish rabbis and Muslim community leaders came together with a proposal that we are
liberal reformism.
Working on just getting, like, if we can't get other aid in, at least get baby formula and nutritional supplements for children in. Let that be kind of a green light, never has a problem. No one's trying to eat baby formula other than a baby, right? That is the proposal that I've been working on.
Alyssa, darling, we need to have a conversation once you get off the television, because look, what you didn't know is that baby formula, it actually has nuclear enrichment. Yes. We have reason to believe that Hamas has been able to nuclear enrich... Wait, hear me out. Nuclear enrich the baby formula to 65%. Now, if they get 70%, that means that it becomes a radioactive rocket that can be fired at Israel, and Israel has the right to defend itself. So we do need to seize that baby formula, baby girl.
all night and this morning. So in terms of what we're trying to do, there's not a moment that goes by that this isn't something that I'm working on and something that my own community, not online, but my own community has practical things that they want to do. They're willing to raise the money. They're willing to buy the formula. They're willing to do whatever we need to do to get it shipped in. That's how I spend my time.
But you're not willing to cut off aid to Israel.
That to me is the most effective thing that I can do today.
This is a subtle question. Your staff is telling us you absolutely have to go. So we appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming.
Senator.
Thank you.